important thing when it comes to clay, other than all the techniques you used yesterday to make sure that all of the pieces stick together and everything like that, is timing. So the kind of clay that we use is an air drying, self-drying clay, but it needs enough time to dry, otherwise it will not turn out properly. It'll crack, it won't turn out the way it's supposed to. So when you do a clay project, and I was talking to Christine about this, she's going to set up a schedule. You need to make sure to give it 10 full days to dry. So that's not, full days, it doesn't matter, it's just 10 days. So if you did a project today, the 2nd, you would need to wait until the 12th to make sure. If any of you are doing projects in the colder months, you might need to wait a little bit longer, especially depending on, is this where it dries now out there, Christine?
No, it's
in the room. Okay, so since it's just when it's colder out, it takes a little bit longer. A way you can tell is if you see, you'll notice it if you keep checking on it, that it kind of has wet spots. You can see it more in the gray clay. Somebody's gray clay. It's a closet. So, he's got a kid in my class. So, you almost see like little wet spots. So, because it starts out like the gray, which is the clay that you'll use for like the angels or the handprints. We use the clay for almost everything except for 3rd and 4th. It starts out really dark gray, and then as it dries, it lightens up to a light gray, almost like concrete, but it will have wet spots on it if it's still dry. You can't tell by touching it. You just want to make sure, wait at least the 10 days again. If it's a colder time, maybe give it a couple extra. And then once you fire it, which I'm going to show you how to use the kiln to do that. Once it's done, it can be glazed as soon as it's cooled off, and then you only have to wait like a day for the glaze to dry. The glaze dries really quick. Again, if it's a cold time of the year, it might take a little bit longer, but you don't have to wait 10 days after glaze. So first step, 10 days, second step, about a day. And again, like I said, it's very important to make sure it cools off. You don't want to do anything when it's hot, because it's basically like, this thing goes over almost to 2,000 degrees. So if you try to take it out when it's too hot, you'll burn your hands and drop the projects. And if you try to glaze it when it's hot, it just won't take it. So it's like, it's like taking stuff. I take stuff out of my dishwasher sometimes too soon. I'm like, oops. So this is the kiln. So I'm assuming that everybody's going to be able to learn how to fire their own projects, which is important. You guys should all know how to do it. It's very safe. It's run by electricity. It's not gas. So don't worry. There's no worries of explosions or anything like that. The first time that it's operated this year, it will make a smell, and it smells really bad, just because it's kind of like your heater in the winter. It's the same kind of, even though it's not gas, it's the same. It just makes a really bad smell, and it's just that the chemicals in the clay are interacting, and it's just, so it smells bad. Sometimes it'll even smell in a couple months. So I always wear in the office. Sometimes I used to hang a little sign on the outside, because when the teachers are walking by, they're like, what's that smell, what's that smell, and it's just a reminder. So we've had this kiln forever. It works very well. The instructions are right here, which I'll go over. This also is the person that has worked on it for years, Elwin Kishimoto. I don't know if he still does it. He's based out of Buena Park, but whenever we had problems, we would call Elwin. He would come out, sometimes because this is electronic, which you'll see when we turn it on. Sometimes the keypad goes bad. Every once in a while there was a part. Very nice, honest guy. It's what he does for a living. He won't try to steer you wrong. Christine, you would be the one to contact him if anything came up. And you just tell him, Christine, I'm from Wickman, and he'll call you back. He rarely answers the phone, but he will call you back. So this is the kiln. It's powered on by the box on the wall. So you just flip it on, and you'll see that this lights up. It says wait, because it's still thinking. So it automatically will just flash on there the last thing that it did. So it completed a project at 73 degrees. I'm not sure what these numbers are, because they don't have anything to do with it. But it will just automatic, and that complete right there, the CPLT, that is how you know that it's done. The next number after that's the temperature. So it's 73 degrees inside of it right now. So when you come to check on it and you think, and it takes about, just depends. It's kind of like when you're trying to put too much stuff in your oven, like Thanksgiving, and you're trying to cook everything all at once, everything takes longer. If you stack it all the way full, it takes longer for all the heat to distribute through it. And it determines when it's done by how hot it gets, and then it knows it's done. So when you come in to check on it, and you're like, oh, cool, it should be done. You come in. If it says anything over 70 degrees, or I mean like 70, 80 degrees, I leave it. Just let it cool down. If you're really in a hurry, you can open it up and let it cool down like you would at your house, like I do with my dishwasher. So you can get going, but it's best to just let it naturally cool down, because when it's done, it just shuts off, and just like an oven at home, it just cools down. So it looks big and heavy, and it is, because it's insulated, but you lift it up like this. It has a handle. It has this bar here on the side, and just kind of almost like a car engine thing, it has a little notch, and it just hooks. That will stay open. This thing's made out of steel. Nothing is going to happen. So it's nice and safe. So if you guys all want to come take a peek inside, it's literally just a giant cement box with heating coils. These heating coils are what brings the heat in. And then in here is shelves, which I'm going to show you. I'll show you how to use the shelves. And then it's very insulated again, so that's why no heat escapes. And then it's all powered by this electronic box, which I think there are some kilns that are manually. But
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So do we turn on this kiln?
Yes, I'm going to show you how to do it. Yeah.
Before
No.
we put everything?
No, it's
in?
best to put everything in and then do it.
Okay.
I mean, it wouldn't. Well, you don't turn it on. You could set it all up, but it's just best to do it all at the same time, because you're going to hit start. And it's kind of like if you do all the steps in order, then you don't mess it up. Going back real quick, if you ever come here and it doesn't say CPLT, it just has a number like 1905 or something like that, that means that's how hot it is. That's what it's doing. If it says error, ERR, and then it gives you a code number, then something has faulted in it. It just depends. If your clay projects turned out okay, yay. If they didn't, then you definitely have to call Elwin. The file cabinets that used to be in that room, I don't know if you guys moved them over there when you moved to the play stuff over there. There is something in the top of one of the drawers that has like a whole manual to the kiln, which you really don't need because it's not that technical, but it does list what each error code is. And we have had a couple issues over the years where the keypad wasn't working or different things weren't firing, and we had one year where it got too hot and all of the angels melted onto the shelves, and we had to throw all the shelves out and do the whole project over again. Luckily, that mom had been very efficient and had started super early, so there was plenty of time to get it done. It was crazy. I cried. I opened it and I cried. So and there were warning signs on this, and I missed them because I was still new to the program. So this is your kiln again. These are what we would call stilts. These are what is the space in between the shelves. These are the shelves. There are half shelves, and there are octagonal shaped whole shelves. I don't know if there's any in here, but I think everything's still in here. Yeah. I think maybe there are all half shelves. I don't even remember. So we have the shelves. We have the stilts. So there's varying sizes. There's these super tall ones, which you will rarely use. I rarely use them because you don't have any projects that tall. The stilts are just to keep the shelves far enough apart for the project. And the angels truly are the tallest projects that you do.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty much flat with just a little bit of curve or something like that. The angels and the pots. So we have these ones, and we have these ones, and we have little tiny ones which are great for like the handprints and things like that. If in doubt, literally just look at your project, especially when it comes to the angels. Say one kid made it really tall, just make sure that whatever's on that shelf is below the top of this. Otherwise, that angel is going to hit that shelf and it's going to stick to the shelf when you take it out. You don't want that. So the other thing is, these are the shelves. Again, they're all made out of concrete, very sturdy. Be careful, they will break if you drop them. And then the other thing that's in here are these things to put the projects on. Okay, so you have big ones and you have little ones. So when you first put the items in, which I don't have any projects here, I will show you. You put, if it's just the first project, you made the angels, you've waited the 10 days, you put them directly on the shelf. They're fine. They will not stick to the shelf. They're fine. You put them in like that. You make sure that they are They don't have to be, it's not like your oven where you have to put cookies, whatever, 2 inches apart and all that. You need to make space in between them. They cannot be touching each other or they will meld together when they fire. But they don't have to be super far apart because space is a premium and you're trying to get as much in there as possible. These are for when you glaze them. When you glaze them, you have to put the projects, the dried glaze, once it's dry after a day, on top of these, I guess we just call them stands. We never really had a name for them. No matter what, even if you didn't glaze the bottom of your project, there's always a chance a little tiny bit of glaze will get on the bottom of something. And if it does, that glaze, once it's fired, it's like a plate in your cupboard. It turns into like a ceramic material and it will stick to that shelf. So you have to put it on here because these are metal prongs, and the metal prongs, every once in a while when you take the glazed project off when you're done, it will stick just a tiny bit, but it won't really, but that's why you have to make sure you set them on the prongs. Don't set them on the edges. And make sure, especially with some of these littler ones, some of the prongs are bent over time, that it's actually on the prong and not sitting on here.
So this will be true also for the handprints,
Yes.
for everything
Yes,
that
so these are
the
best
glaze.
for handprints. I think leaves. Second grade is the what? The wind chime?
The
Wind
wind
chime.
chime.
So wind chime is something where you would use these more because the wind chime is 3 rectangles that hang.
The
right?
hearts.
Oh, the hearts.
The
the
hearts.
I can't even remember.
The
Foil
mobile,
pot.
the
That's
heart
right.
mobile.
That's right. It used to be the wind chimes. They changed
Yeah.
it. Oh, my brain's not even thinking. So you kind of just judge it based on the size. If you don't have an item that's this big, then don't waste it and don't try to put 3 projects on one of these. Use these. Same thing if you run out of these, because we only have so many and they've gotten broken over the years. So you see there's all these like little pieces. Sometimes, say you have a handprint, you've got to put 3 of these out. Always make sure it's balanced. Always make sure you have a triangle. Don't try to just do a rectangle. Make sure you have a balanced surface to put it on. Because again, you don't want it to teeter. It might look fine, and then you walk away and it moves and then it's stuck to the shelf. And then that project is ruined and you're gonna hack it off the shelf. You don't want to do that. So again, these are only for glazed. You could put them under a regular project, but you don't need to. So don't do the extra work. When you put stuff that is glazed in there, it's extra height because of these things, and it takes longer because it's a whole extra step. These also, when you take them out, put them, these are all shelves too. Put them in here. I kind of feel like you might be a little short on some of these. I don't know if there's more in there, but you might have to see about getting some more. I'm not sure. Again, it just depends on how full your kiln is going to be. You're going to see when you do it. Right now, there are shelves in there, I think just because based on the last person that used it. Usually, you always load it from the bottom up, of course, and you take out all the shelves and put them away. So the next person, always, right now they're all very neat and orderly. Try to do that so that it's easier, it makes it be more efficient. There are 2 shelves in the bottom that always stay there because you cannot put the clay directly on the very bottom. So we can take these out, and they're kind of heavy. And I know I'm very tall, I'm 5'10". This has always been easy for me because of this. But as Olga was pointing out to me, she always had a hard time. I think there's still a step stool, and it sounds funny, but if you have a step stool, you're up higher. You just have to bend a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if there's a group of you, pick the tallest person in your group.
Yeah.
Tall people know we always get picked to do all this stuff. So yeah, we might as well just put it all away. And it makes it easier to grab if you kind of put them in alternating the shape back and
We
forth.
should have to ask James.
We used to have a step stool in the art pals room, so it should still be there. Oh, that's another thing. Then you're grabbing the projects and they do still seem hot. Over the years, obviously, they've gotten eaten up or used. You can wear the gloves as well to help you. But this one's.
Oh, it's probably.
Oh, there's more. So, is this the very bottom ones? No, there's one more. There's one more rack.
So we always take the shelves
You
out.
have to, because you really should be, again, loading it as far deep as you can.
Okay.
Now I'm looking at this and I'm wondering, these coils are out. This is not good. I don't know if these are like this and this shelf was down here because, you might have to ask Olga about that. we might need to ask Elwin to come out and check it out because these coils should be in the wall. But again, it's not a super difficult thing for him to figure out.
Oh,
So-
you're saying the shelves might have been protecting the wires.
Yes, basically, yeah.
So what if we just leave the shelves on?
If you're doing something like handprints or leads, you can maybe fit a few extra in. But it's best to try to just do one class at a time because even though the kids work them and all of that, you don't want to get them mixed up. You're like, you have two angels that both have like, you know, TS or 19 or whatever that is, and you're just like, who's this? I don't know.
But so this year I think the 5th grade classes they have 30 kids.
Okay.
This thing I don't think it
will
can
hold 30
fit
if they're
30.
not too tall. It should hold 30 if you're not too if they're not
Oh,
too
we can
tall
do layers,
and too
right?
wide. Oh yeah, because you do layers. That's the
Oh,
whole point of
okay.
the stills.
Right. Okay, that's
Yeah.
By 6.
Yeah. And you
Oh,
can
okay.
fit with angels. You can fit a good 8 or 9.
8
on
or
the
9
shelf.
on.
Yeah. And you can go all the way to the
Stack
top. Again, obviously you don't want to go over the top. I would. No, that's what we're finding out. Those coils are supposed to be.
I was like, they're supposed to be inside.
And again, you don't want to go over the top of this because you
No,
need-
right, you want to
Yeah.
touch it.
And like I said before, the more you put in, the longer it's going to take. So just remember, you know,
Maybe
again,
3
you
or
have to get your
4
class done.
layers.
So that's why when it comes to your scheduling with the angels, you have to really make sure.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
if it takes, you could do everybody could do all the angels in 1 week, but you know, you're gonna hit 10 days, you're gonna each,
Right.
you're gonna have to push it out another day.
We will have a calendar for that.
We used to always start angels like in October, like around now.
Okay.
Again, because you might have things, you might have absent
Monday.
kids.
Okay.
You might also have,
After 3 days.
you have a kid that all of a sudden comes to our school on December 10th and he's not going to have something to take home to his mom. You have him make one. Come and do the experience with him. But he takes home maybe one that doesn't look quite the same. But it's okay because it's done. You could give it to him later or whatever. We had to do that a couple times with kids because, you don't want them to be the only one. And again, don't worry about that they don't all look the same because you guys aren't all going to get on, Facebook Live and be like, oh my God, here, this is weird. It's the great thing. It goes home and it stays home, and unless you guys go visit each other, nobody's going to know what anybody's looking like. I have 3 kids, none of theirs look the same. Pretty much you load it up, you have your cart, you just load them on there, put your shelves on in between, make sure that there's enough space in between each one so the top of one item isn't touching the bottom of the shelf. When you're all done, you're satisfied with it, and your top thing should not be a shelf. It should just when it's all done, you should see a clay project. That should be the top thing that you see. You close it. Yeah, we'll ask her about that. Oh, well, dusty. In order to release this latch, you just have to push up on it a little bit so that this gets loose, and you just slowly bring it. That's it. Okay? You have to put in that many. You need to make sure there's 6.
6. Okay, not 4.
6, not 4. No, you need 6 to balance the weight.
6 spacers.
Again, they're half of they're half of an octagon, but it's like a triangle. Triangle is always your base shape.
So listen, this is really important. If you're doing, let's say you're doing hearts and you're doing hearts, right? I wouldn't put 2 classes of hearts in there because then you're going to end up with some of hers and you're going to. Okay.
It's too easy. It's better to do like handprints and hearts.
Yeah,
Or leaves
handprints and hearts, leaves and hearts.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you're going to do 2 classes,
Yeah, that's a good
mix it
idea.
up. But don't put 2 classes of leaves or 2 classes of hearts. It doesn't work. I mean,
It's too easy to mix.
it is. It's really easy.
To mix up.
I'm telling you, that might have been like that. I just,
That's fine.
because
No problem.
I never reached so.
Okay. Anybody else want to try opening and closing it, or you're good? All right. So again, you lift it back, pull it forward, just loosen it, and just don't let it slam. Always slowly ease it down. Okay. So these instructions here are always the same. We made this a couple of years ago because it was just easier, and because even you forget, even if it's something you do all the time, you forget. So bisque is the first stage. Bisque is just considered plain clay. Glaze is when you're glazing it. So, and the only difference between these directions is the glaze temperature, which is 04 and 06. 04 doesn't mean anything to us, but in that little handbook I was telling you about, it has a temperature range. That's what glaze fires at, or not glaze, what clay fires at to make it the appropriate hardness. If you do it too low, it will fall apart, it'll crumble. If you do it too much, like I said, it will literally melt onto the shelf and be ruined. This was like, I mean, it looked like marble. It was actually really pretty. I was like, I wish we could have done something with it because it reminded me of like a headstone at the cemetery. It was really pretty. Glaze, because you're putting it on top of the already fired clay that's already gone into 04, the glaze needs to go to 06. Glaze doesn't look pretty when you put it on, it just looks very flat, but it has a shine, and it has the heat causes a chemical reaction in it that allows it to adhere to it perfectly and to shine, to be really pretty. So that's the difference between them. So on is what powers the kiln. It has an on and off switch. I don't know how much power it takes. You don't necessarily need to turn it all the way off every time. If you forget, it's not a bad thing. It's not going to sit here and stay hot. It's just like any other appliance. It's not drawing power. It's not doing anything bad when it's on. If you forget to turn it off, if you come in, it's already on, you're good. So the first thing you do is you hit stop, which is right here in the middle. Stop clears out whatever was in there previously. Uh-oh, this is bad. It's not beeping. It's supposed to be. We might have to start over. Just hope that this is right. Now it says wait again. Okay. It should be beeping. If it does not beep, there's a problem with the keypad. So we're definitely going to have to tell Ella. This is very important. Every time you do this, and again, if I have to come back when we can actually use it and show you, I'll show you. Every time you press a button, if it does not beep, it did not function. It's like you didn't press it. So if you don't hear, and that was when I made the mistake with those ones that overfired. I was putting it on 04, the 0 button wasn't working, and it was just getting 4. And it goes from 01 all the way up to 10 or something like that. So it was like, triple hot as it was supposed to be. And I didn't realize it until after the fact. See, no, that's the different buttons are beeping, but the problem is the stop button. And this is your clear. You need the stop button. So we might, I've never tried the master power button.
Oh, maybe it's just a light.
That's just the light. Oh, no.
Oh, there you go.
Interesting. I literally, in all these years, never tried it. Let's see what happens when we do that. It might need to reset. It's been sitting for 6 months or so. Do that, and if it doesn't beep on any of these buttons you need though, you have to stop and contact Christine or contact one of the other coordinators. Okay, so stop is your clear. It's just your clear. It doesn't clear out what's on here, but it does put it in idle. It tells you that it's idle. Your next step is you hit the cone fire button. Cone fire, and my eyes are, thank you. I have my glasses on. Cone fire, and then you hit 04, okay? And enter, okay? The only one you don't have to hit enter after is the cone fire. So you hit 04, and then enter. Then you hit medium. Enter. Where's my button again? Oh, right, the big blue one right there that I can't see. Enter. And then you do 005, 5, enter. Okay. And display must read 005. See, it's not reading 005. This is a problem. I just squat. It starts clicking again. It's just like your oven or a water heater. And again, even though it's not gas.
And don't be afraid if it smells funny.
Oh, I told him about the smell.
Oh.
Yeah,
can I just recap a little bit?
Yeah.
When we press 005 and then we press the start button, then we should hear the
so
beeping
we can do it
sound.
again when we talk to the bell and I'll show you.
Okay.
So always, and if in doubt, and if you're starting to do the steps and you can't remember if you press something wrong, right or wrong, just hit stop and start over again. It's just a couple steps. So stop. So cone fire. Why am I forgetting again? 04, that's right. 04, enter. Medium, enter. 5, enter. Now listen, when we hear start,
Okay. Yeah.
it says on, and then it should start clicking, which we heard it click before.
Oh,
So it's clicking.
Oh,
And if
the
you're, if
clicking
it
sound.
makes you feel better, you can actually stand. It's like if my oven doesn't do it anymore, but you can actually watch You watch, the number will go up. It's 76, 77,
Oh,
78.
okay,
It'll
good.
go all the way up to like 1900 and something. I forget what it is.
Yeah, that click
Is there a
is up.
safety feature to keep it locked in? So
No, there is not a safety feature. But this is so heavy, I mean, it would take like, you know, a 10-point Richter scale earthquake to lift this. Because this lid is so heavy.
No, but you mean it locks, the lid locks when it's
The lid
hard?
does not lock. The
So-
lid does, it could be, yeah. It
So
could
we
be.
don't even know, like, if we didn't check this to know that it was ongoing, we just pick one up because see one in the process.
This is why only people that have been trained should be using it. This is why it's in a room with a lock. Yeah, this gate has a lock, and only Vanessa, James. Well, actually, all the teachers have a key. It's the same lock that's all over campus, but this stays locked and needs to remain locked every time you leave. Even if you think somebody's coming, lock it. If in doubt, because you don't want. And you could actually make a sign saying, "Do not open unless you've been trained" or something. We never had an issue.
So if you do open it, it's extremely hot.
Oh yeah, you would feel it.
Yeah,
You would feel it as soon as you got. Yeah, it's just like your oven at home. It's the second you touch it, and it's warmer in here. And I will tell you that something you'll see. I will remind James before I leave. There's a rat trap here. Probably 10 to 12 hours, maybe even longer. I don't remember. I apologize. But say you put it in like at lunchtime today, when you come in the morning, it would probably say that it's done, but it could still say like 340 or something like that.
It's automatic shutdown.
It automatically turns off, and again, you'll start seeing, it'll just be showing the temperature as it goes down. It'll say CPLT complete.
So how
Again,
many
if it's an
days?
error- Oh, go ahead.
So how many days we should leave the kiln? Just let it cool down, like
Oh, it
2
doesn't, once it's
days.
done, it doesn't need to cool down. It can go right back in again. I would spend I would unload it and fill it
No,
right back up with projects.
But it
again.
needs to be cooled down. How long
Well, it
does
has to be
it
cooled down to get the project out, so it's just, it depends on when you put it in.
What do you suggest? 2 days or 3 days?
Oh,
we.
no, not even, once it cools down, a couple hours, yeah.
Oh, only a couple
Oh
hours
yeah,
to cool down.
because you're not gonna take the stuff out until it's cool enough for you to touch. Once it's
Right.
cool enough for you to touch, you can lean in there. It's gonna be warm, but it's just, again, like at home, if you open your oven, it might be even cooler in your oven than it is in your house or outside. So it's not, it's not hurting you anymore.
So can I suggest if we, like, let's say we put in the projects today, lunchtime, and then you should be back in 2 days to take your projects out?
No, the next
or
day.
just
Next day.
or the next day.
Sometimes it just depends.
Maybe one
If if a parent can't put them in
Okay.
until after school, they're probably not gonna be ready until lunchtime or later in the next
So
day.
1 day.
And
Okay.
again, it's
So that's
the more
pretty
full
fast.
it is, and if you did glaze, the longer it's gonna take to heat. So
Okay.
again, you just have to look at this. If
Right.
you can plan, you can show up and be like, okay, cool, and you get over here and it's like 340 degrees. Okay, what? You're done.
Okay.
You have to wait at least a couple
Got it.
more hours. And you do not want to open it to cool down when it's that hot. When it gets to about 100 degrees, you can lift it up to start to cool it down a little faster. But I would not open it up any higher than 100.
What I
Glaze
would
the
do,
same time, 10 hours?
Glaze is a little bit longer because it's a higher heat, so it has to get to a higher heat again, just like when you're preheating your oven.
So that's about what, two
No,
days?
it's still about the same. I would say, it's hard
10, 12
because again, it all
12
depends on availability. I used to like bring my kids to school, load up the kiln, and I would come back the next day and it was perfectly ready. But say if I had to wait until the end of the day or something like that, then again, I would think I would have to come back like at lunchtime or anything.
Yeah.
I would say to be safe, don't plan on, give yourself a full 24 hours just to be safe, because that might be how long it takes to heat up. And again, when you're scheduling it, you want the next person to not show up, like you do yours and then Connie shows up to do hers and you're not done yet.
Yeah.
And again, with that too, because there's so many of you that are going to be doing it, you need to make sure that you're once you have the schedule, be very
conscientious.
conscientious of each other's time.
Right.
Don't say, don't load your stuff and then be like, oh, I really can't come out till Friday. Oh well. And then somebody else is going to have to. And if that's the way you want to do it, maybe somebody else has to unload it and put it in the marked boxes. But again, you're taking the chance that if somebody falls. So you go. So it's all the way up to 142 already.
So if you want to
So,
cancel
wait till you
Just
see
hit
what
stop.
I'm making.
Yep.
Just press stop.
So now it's done.
Okay.
And it tells you it's 144 and you'll see it gradually cool down. If for some reason, just like I said, like if you hit stop and it doesn't beep and it's not stopping, just turn it off.
And then we don't need to touch the master power switch.
No, I've never used that. until
Okay.
today.
Okay.
And again, it could
Yeah, it's
Because it
a
just-
reboot.
It
It's
just
a
means that it
reboot.
needed to reset because it's been
Okay.
sitting all summer, you know,
Right.
because it hasn't been used probably since like April, May. I mean, yeah, it's
May.
been down in May.
May.
So yeah, and then these things, this what you see here. This is you actually if you put your hand here,
They
you can
glow
feel the heat.
red.
This is the vent because the heat needs to escape. So if you touch it, you can feel it's hot right there.
Will it burn you if you step too close?
No, I look at my put my hand. It's fine.
I mean, like when it's up to 2,000 degrees.
Oh, I'm sure. I've never been in here. That's kind of the beauty of it happening like long after you're gone is you turn it on and then you walk away. Yeah, kind of like that, and nobody
You
else
have
is
to
here.
lock the
Yes,
gate
you have to lock this
after you put it.
But
James used to use
I
a
honestly don't think you're gonna have to do that because the guys here,
I wonder if we need more of those like stands.
No, that we'd have to figure out because there used to be where we used to get the clay from was a place here in Chino. That's where we got all our supplies from, and it's closed down. I don't know where the clay is coming from now.
Now we
Most
go to
likely
Roland Heights.
Would have to order them online.
Yeah.
So if you had to get more things, I mean, there's plenty of stilts. You don't need to worry about that. Unless these shelves break, we have more shelves than would fit in there, even if you had like, 2 classes of hand praise or something. These are the only things that tend to run out. But again, if you're only doing 1 or 2 classes, you use all these, that fills up, then you start using these around the edge of the angel. We have enough between everything. That's rice, okay. Yeah. So you could